Have you ever wondered how most men can be bought? Show a little affection, a little money, a little comfort, a little applause, a little validation, and they bend. They call it compromise. They call it fitting in. What it really is, what they don't know, is that it is called surrender. But there exists a man who doesn't fold, doesn't barter, and doesn't sell pieces of himself just to sit at a table that isn't even worth dining at. That man is the Sigma. He doesn't scream his defiance. He doesn't wear rebellion as a costume. He simply lives in a way that refuses to kneel where others crawl. Every man says he has a line he won't cross. The Sigma actually keeps his. And if you want to understand why this archetype cuts deeper, why his existence is both admired and feared, you need to know what he never does. Because the truth of a man isn't only in what he pursues, it's in what he refuses. Upcoming are 10 things a Sigma never does the lines he guards like steel, the boundaries that keep him untouchable. 1. No cheap trades of integrity for comfort. Most men fold for comfort. They'll sell their soul for a couch, a routine, and an easy paycheck that doesn't test them. Comfort feels safe, but it rots a man from the inside out. The Sigma knows comfort is the currency of the weak. It lures you into surrender 1 inch at a time. Take this easier road. Take this softer option. Take this deal, but just let go of that principle, that dream, that fire burning in your gut. He'd rather burn on his feet than live padded on his knees. Because here's the truth. Once you trade your integrity for comfort, you never get it back. The world will demand more and you'll keep giving until there's nothing left but a man who never really lived. The Sigma refuses that path. He knows that integrity is the last armor you have in a world built to strip you bare. Lose it, and you've already lost everything. Better to walk hungry with honor than full with shame. 2. No living in debt or being enslaved to the credit card system. Debt is modern slavery dressed in a shiny suit. The chains aren't iron anymore, they're credit scores, minimum payments, and interest rates designed to drain men dry while keeping them smiling. Most people live their entire lives paying for things they couldn't afford to impress people they don't even like. They swipe plastic, not realizing that every purchase comes with a leash. But the Sigma doesn't kneel to financial illusion. He understands that if you don't own your money owns you. He buys what he can afford. He invests in freedom, not status. And when he swipes, he pays clean. No chains, no parasites feasting on his future. Debt is the cage built for men who mistake appearance for power. 3. No chasing trends or bending to the herd. Trends are traps. They promise relevance, but they fade faster than smoke. The herd worships what's hot today and forgets it tomorrow. Most men live as echoes. Their clothes, their opinions, their entertainment, their desires all borrowed from whatever the herd is chanting loudest. The Sigma doesn't dance for trends. He's not chasing hashtags, not bending to culture's every whim. He knows what is fashionable dies, but what is real outlives time. He's not a follower of trends because he's too busy building things trends will one day chase. When you follow the crowd, you walk in circles. 4. No worshipping titles or empty status symbols. Some men will bleed themselves dry for a title. They'll work until their spirit is gone, clawing for the right to be called manager, director, CEO. They tattoo borrowed authority on their business cards, mistaking it for worth. But strip away the labels and you'll find a hollow shell, a man defined by paper instead of presence. The Sigma doesn't play that game. He doesn't need a crown to rule or a throne to sit on. His power isn't stamped by HR or handed down from some higher office. Titles are fragile, they can be revoked, reassigned, or forgotten. A man who leans on them is always standing on borrowed ground. The Sigma knows real authority isn't given, it's forged. His results, his will, his unshakable presence shout louder than any letters after a name. While others bow to men decorated in titles, the Sigma only bows to truth, strength, and earned respect. The world can strip away the plaques, the corner office, the fake crowns. What remains is the man who cannot be dethroned because he was never sitting on their chair to begin with. Crowns rust, thrones break, the man remains. 5. No wasting time. Explaining himself to people who don't matter. The average man wastes decades chained to the opinions of others, bending his back to bosses, explaining his choices to friends, begging family for approval, and even groveling before strangers online. He confuses acceptance with purpose, thinking that if enough people nod their heads, his life will finally mean something. But all he really earns is exhaustion and the empty applause of people who forget him tomorrow. The Sigma cuts that cord. He doesn't waste oxygen justifying his path to those who will never walk it. He doesn't explain, he doesn't beg, he doesn't hand out little pieces of himself in search of validation. He moves in silence, and his actions carve the only explanation that matters. To explain yourself is to kneel. To refuse explanation is to declare war on dependency. Freedom doesn't come from being understood. It comes from not caring if you are. The wolf never sends apologies to the sheep. 6. No attaching his worth to possessions. A man with no spine clings to objects like a drowning man clings to driftwood. He stacks cars, houses, watches, and clothes around him like armor, thinking they make him somebody. But take them away, strip him bare, and you'll see the truth. There's no man under all that shine. Just emptiness wearing brands. The Sigma knows better. He doesn't confuse ownership with identity. His worth isn't parked in a driveway or hanging off his wrist. He could lose every possession tomorrow and still walk with the same unshaken stride, because his power isn't purchased, it's forged in who he is when nothing remains. He owns things, but things never own him. They are tools, not trophies. The Sigma understands that the graveyard doesn't care what car you drove, what watch you flashed, or how many square feet your home boasted. At the end, all the gold-plated illusions rot the same. The only thing that endures is the man who never let possessions define him. When your worth is tied to possessions, you're just a decorated prisoner. 7. No kneeling to authority. He doesn't respect. Authority is everywhere: governments, bosses, leaders, systems. Most men obey blindly, mistaking noise for legitimacy. The Sigma plays by rules when they're real, but he doesn't kneel to hollow authority. If respect isn't earned, it isn't given. He knows the difference between law and power, between order and control, and when he sees fraud dressed as authority, he ignores it. A voice in a loud room isn't truth. Respect is earned, not demanded. 8. No dying without leaving something behind. The crowd lives like consumers, trapped in a loop of appetite and distraction. They eat, drink, scroll, repeat, and then they vanish, leaving nothing but digital dust and forgotten receipts. Their names fade before the dirt even covers them, because they gave nothing of themselves beyond consumption. The Sigma refuses that shallow cycle. He doesn't just consume, he creates. He builds structures that outlast him. He leaves ideas, legacies, and movements that echo long after his body is gone. It might be a business forged from sweat and vision, a philosophy that outlives its author, a piece of art that still speaks generations later, or simply a way of living that shifts the people around him forever. He doesn't want to simply exist in time, he wants to carve into it. He doesn't want to just live, he wants to outlive. For him, the measure of a man isn't how he indulged while alive, but what remains when he's gone. You die twice. Once when your body collapses, and once when your name is spoken for the last time. The Sigma fears the second death. 9. No begging for doors to open. Most men grovel for scraps of opportunity. They stand in lines waiting to be picked, waiting for permission, waiting for someone else to validate their existence. They knock on closed doors until their knuckles bleed, begging for entry, desperate for a seat at a table that was never built for them. The Sigma doesn't beg. If the door stays shut, he doesn't waste a second knocking. He rips timber from the world and builds his own entrance. He doesn't pray to be invited. He creates paths so raw and undeniable that the world has no choice but to notice. While the masses wait for approval, the Sigma moves with ruthless independence, shaping roads that belong to him alone. Because begging is surrender, and surrender has no place in his blood. To wait for another man's blessing is to confess weakness. To choose yourself is to wield power. And the Sigma only moves with power. He who waits to be chosen will wait forever. He who chooses himself never waits. 10. No surrendering his mind to noise. The world today runs on distraction, endless scrolling, news designed to rot your focus, noise designed to keep you numb. Most men surrender their attention the one thing they can never get back. The Sigma guards his focus like a fortress. He knows his mind is the sharpest weapon he owns, and he refuses to let it be drowned in static. While others waste their lives in distraction, he builds, he creates, he sharpens. Attention is the new battlefield. The Sigma is the one man who refuses to be conquered. On a final note, the world wants you to bend. It wants you to chase trends, surrender your mind, beg for recognition, trade your soul for comfort. And most men will, but the Sigma doesn't. He refuses, not loudly, not with rebellion painted on his chest, but with silence, discipline, and a refusal to ever cross the lines that guard his core. That's why he's feared. That's why he's respected. And that's why he remains untouchable. Because in the end, greatness isn't only about what you do, it's about what you never do.